I was a U.S. Air Force Arabic cryptologic linguist. From 2005 to 2009, I went through the DLI, Defense Language Institute in Monterey, California. And in this video, I'm going to tell you the number one thing that experience taught me about language learning. In the past, I've been a bit withholding about talking about that on YouTube because of all of the training about OPSEC, operational security. Being a cryptologic linguist in the military requires getting a top secret clearance. I mean, not getting one, they get one for you. That's public knowledge, and I don't think it's a problem to say that. I got my top secret clearance when I was 20. So I couldn't buy beer, but I had a top secret clearance, which is kind of funny to me. My number one biggest takeaway from the experience, other than learning Arabic, is the concept of OPI. OPI stands for Oral Proficiency Interview, and it's the military speaking test that's used to evaluate linguists on how well they can speak. The format of the test is that your tester asks you questions in Arabic or Mandarin or Spanish or whatever the language is that you're learning. You just have to answer the question. So you're sitting there and they're going to say, "How are you?" And you're like, "Good," in the language. Sometimes this is over the phone too, but like my experience was in person because it's the DLI. We trained every day for that, being able to answer questions. By being able to just answer questions in the language, that pretty much translates, so to speak, to real life ability. And I find that the OPI speaking test is a legit way. It's a very realistic way to test your speaking ability. You don't have time to think, you don't have time to prepare, you don't have time to write out your answer. You have to be ready to answer those questions. The questions become increasingly difficult, okay? So soon they might talk about your hobbies for a while, and then they'll go deeper, what's your advice on someone who wants to learn to do this? Or how do you cook an egg or something? It gets into that, and then it'll be what's going on in the news right now, and what's your opinion on that, and so on. So being able to answer questions on an OPI reflects how well you can communicate in real life, and that's why they use that test. I also use that as a standard in terms of how well the people I'm teaching can speak their language. You got to be able to answer my questions. If you can't answer my questions, then it doesn't matter if you can conjugate the verb or if you know the words. You have to be able to answer the questions. From 2010 until 2025, when I got out of the military, that entire time I've been working with people and training people, sometimes military, sometimes other places that are similar, and they too will be evaluated with an OPI. Even if you're not really taking an OPI, you should be able to. That's one of the most central tenets of my teaching and of this method, is that you be able to do an OPI. Because again, if you can't do an OPI, you probably can't speak in real life. Throughout those 15 or so years of training people for the OPI, I've identified 9 levels that I've come to think of as belt levels, as a martial art. You can think of the OPI as a martial art. You have to defend yourself against the questions, okay? There's white belt to black belt, and there's 7 colors in the middle: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Roy G. Biv. In my school group, I've begun creating OPI simulators. Those are videos in which I ask you questions. You pause after each question and practice answering the question. In addition, I'm creating an OPI training course based on those belt levels in the classroom section of school. And you'll be able to evaluate what level you currently are. You'll know what each level means. There's a core set of skills that come with each belt level. Assess the level that you're currently at, and then know what the next level looks like and the level after that. So it's meant to lay out a clear path in terms of the skills that you need to be able to do better and better at an OPI, which translates to real life communication. That's the idea of OPI training. It's the idea of the belt color system for OPI practice, and it's the purpose of the simulators and the entire course in school. There's a link to the school group in the description of this video, and I'm inviting anyone who resonates with the idea that language learning is like a martial art. I'm not here to study, memorize. I'm here to be able to communicate, and we use the OPI for that.